So, should you be eating less calories to avoid weight gain during COVID-19? Find out now. Hi, I'm Aleksa, dietitian, sports dietitian, and nutrition coach. Welcome back. Hope you've been staying safe. Before we deep dive into today's lesson, remember, subscribe, ring the bell. Awesome. One of the biggest concerns with the current pandemic and the isolation that we're in is, will I gain weight during COVID-19? More specifically, will I gain weight if I continue eating the same calories I was eating prior to all this? Well, let's deep dive into this and answer this for you. So Corona time has come, and now you're wondering, the calories that kept you in the maintain train, are they now going to get you onto the regain train? And this is what you're concerned about. So will it? Should you in fact be cutting calories now? Well, let's explore this together. I'm first going to explain the foundations of weight management. It starts with CICO, calories in, calories out. Simply put, to lose weight, you need to be in the calorie deficit, aka you need to eat less calories than you're expending. To gain weight, it's the opposite is true, so you got to be in a calorie surplus, you got to be eating more calories than you're expending. And obviously, if you want to be maintaining your weight, you got to be on what's called maintenance calories. Simples. But now it's time to understand what impacts this balance. Okay, what impacts calories in, calories out? Using that, we then know if there has to be an adjustment made, and if there is, which adjustment is to be made. So calories in is self-explanatory. I'm not even going to talk about it, okay? It's your food and the drinks you consume. Calories out, on the other hand, is dynamic. It's multifactorial, and in fact, it's going to be the key consideration we use to determine our caloric strategy. So as you can see in this image here, you have RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate. You have exercise activity, which is the energy expended doing exercise. And then you have thermic effect of food, which is the amount of energy your body uses to process, digest, and use the food supply that you take in. But what's not on here is NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is what I want you to think of as your incidental activity. So what do all these mean, and how do they actually impact you? Well, let me explain. Your RMR is your baseline caloric usage, and therefore your baseline caloric needs. Think of it this way. If you were to just be laying around, being bedbound, and not doing much else, your body still needs to keep you alive and thriving. So to do that, it has a baseline metabolism, a baseline level of calories that it needs to be consumed to operate those processes. That is what your RMR is. It's your resting metabolic rate. And the RMR, in fact, is your most unique part of your energy out. It's the thing that differentiates us between, from us from others. It's the reason that even though some people have very similar lifestyles, very similar exercise activities, the total metabolism can be quite different. It's because of that uniqueness, that individuality that comes about with your resting metabolic rate. Exercise activity, on the hand, that is as it sounds. It's the energy, like I said, that you expend doing exercise, doing structured exercise. And this one is actually the most dynamic one. It's the one that can be changed most significantly. It's the one that varies quite considerably from those that are very active to those that are not active. Let me explain. So think of like an athlete. For them, and some individuals in particular, their exercise activity percentage of their energy out part of the equation is actually potentially larger or equal to the RMR, which is very different to the normal individual, the person who's not an athlete, where their RMR is by far the most significant portion of their energy out. And even among those that are athletic, the variation can be considerable when it comes to energy expenditure from the exercise activity side of things. So with that said, hold on to that because we're going to discuss that soon in relation to the question you want answered. Then we got non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT, or as I said, incidental activity. Now this one also has an impact in terms of our lifestyle. So our lifestyle variances will influence our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. As you would expect, okay, people that have more reason to be moving around doing things will have a high incidental level of activity than someone who's generally going to be in an office and so on and so forth. To give you examples of what incidental activity can be, it can be as simple as, fidgeting. It can be as simple as, taking the stairs at work. It can be parking further away and walking to the shops. It can be doing gardening. It can be just standing around. It can be cooking. All this stuff is your incidental activity. All this stuff, in my opinion, goes into the NEAT equation. And because NEAT can be quite influenced by lifestyle and definitely by the changes that arose due to the COVID situation, hold on to this because we're going to explain this as well. And then finally, we have thermic effect of food. Very simply, it's the energy that your body uses to digest, process, and use your macronutrients. Each macro has a different thermic effect of food, protein being highest, fats being the lowest. So therefore, you can see a different macro distribution will have an influence on your total metabolism. But all in all, for most people, it's generally a maximum about 15% influence of your total energy out. Therefore, yes, it can influence. Therefore, yes, it's something you can look at, but it's something that potentially you look at after you've looked at the other more significant players. So now you know the baseline influences on metabolism and energy expenditure. And therefore, it's time now to go back to the original question and answer it for you. Should you be cutting calories during coronavirus to avoid weight gain? Well, let's break it down. But in this scenario, let's assume that you still have caloric control. You're still aware of your nutrition. You're still tracking. You're still maintaining. You're still on point. Therefore, we don't have to worry about the calories in part of the equation. So the first thing you want to do is look at your energy out and think which ones are going to be the most influenced by the coronavirus situation. And the answer is very simple. 1, exercise activity, and 2, your incidental activity. Then the second thing you want to do is grab those and think how much have they changed since the onset of COVID-19? How much have they changed for you, the individual, in your individual lifestyle? Because this is going to vary from person to person. Let's use some examples. Let's say that you went from being a very active gym goer, but now what you're doing is a home workout that's very much similar in terms of volume and intensity. Then you could probably argue that your exercise has been more or less the same. But let's say you're someone who was an athlete and playing a sport, and now all the sporting clubs are closed, the stadiums are closed, and you're also a gym goer, and now that's closed. So maybe you're still relying on some home workouts, or maybe you're not. But the fact of the matter is you're not doing as much sport. Your energy expenditure has gone down. Okay, the variances will be significant or small depending on the individual and depending on you, but there has been obviously a decrease. And that's something you've got to consider. These are the things you've got to do. You've got to really reflect and assess your situation to see how much has it changed. Okay, if it's changed at least by 10, 20, 30% or more, you could kind of go, okay, maybe I have to make some adjustments. But if it's very marginal decreases, you probably don't have to worry too much. And in the same way, for your incidental activity, think about it. Most people in isolation, their lifestyles have changed. Okay, mine as well, everyone has. And because of this reason, incidental activity is primarily affected for a lot of people. Your activity may have gone down from that side of things. Perhaps you go to the shop less. Okay, perhaps you're just staying at home more, so you're doing less walking around and moving around in society. Whatever it may be, you've got to assess this after you've assessed exercise, of course, add them up and see how much variance there is. Then you'll know through that, having that data, if you have to make a change. The reality is isolation has presented a general lack of access to exercise, or at least the repeatability of what you were doing previously, the volume, the intensity, all that sort of stuff is lessened. But now you wonder, okay, I've assessed myself. I've determined that there has been a significant drop in my activity levels, and therefore I may warrant a cut in my calories. But by how much? Okay, you're wondering how much should I be cutting? Because at the end of the day, it could be anywhere from 1,000 to only 5 calories. Okay, but the right answer is actually go conservative, especially if you don't have a dietitian working with you. So I do always recommend with any calorie adjustments, any nutrition adjustments and goals and plans, you are working with a sports dietitian. But if you're not and you're confident in yourself and you need to do it alone, then you want to be conservative especially. Now, I in the past have had success with people just cutting calories by about 100 calories, maybe even 150 calories. And that has enabled them to stay on track or prevent a weight gain and so on and so forth. So for you, that's what I'm saying. Okay, without assessing you properly, without being there, looking at the individualized approach for you, I can say a very conservative approach of about 100 to 150 calorie cut could be all you need to account for that reduction in exercise, provided you're not just not doing any exercise anymore. That's a whole different story. And therefore alleviate any potential weight gain or surplus increase that may occur. But then you may be wondering, okay, Aleksa, that's all cool, but I want to actually lose weight. If you want to explicitly lose weight, then you want to first check out the video. You can see the link up there where I talk about the considerations you need to make. There are considerations now that you need to kind of ask yourself to determine if you should be trying to lose weight. Okay, perhaps you should be, but you want to first determine that. And once you've determined whether you should or should not be, and you know that that's your goal still, then reach out. I'll guide you next step. Remember, you may or may not need to pivot with your goals during this time, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And sometimes getting that guidance from a professional could be the way to do that. Okay, so now you know whether you should or should not be cutting calories in this time. You've now got the answer for that question. But as I said, a personalized professional approach is the key here, okay, to get those lasting results. So if this is something you feel you want or something you feel you're lacking, you're ready to take action, ready to invest in yourself, then reach out, okay? Reach out to me and let's see how I can help you get from point A to point B and get better, more streamlined results without the restriction, without the stress, without the guesswork, so you can focus on doing the action, so you can stay on track and preserve that progress that you've attained even before COVID. If this is something that you are interested, of course, please, there's a link in the description. Apply now for my coaching experience. We'll see if you're the right fit and go from there. I look forward to hopefully helping you reach your peak potential. As always, if you have any questions though, please drop a comment below or send me an email alternatively at aleksa@theclimatedietitian.com.au so I can help you out, answer your questions, and make sure you've got the right information you need to actually make some proactive change and move towards that goal. Of course, if you found this helpful, if this video answered your question, please show it some love by hitting the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Stay classy. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.